After my previous Fallout New Vegas faction runs, some commenters suggested that I make a similar video for the Enclave Remnants. While I wasn't originally planning on creating such a video, as the Enclave is far from a full-fledged faction in the Mojave, I still intended on honoring this request. And so I designed this build and walkthrough just for the most patriotic beauty hunters in the place. Let's start with the build. The Remnant has 5 strength, which will be boosted to 6 by the power armor, 6 perception, 4 endurance, 2 charisma, 8 intelligence, and 10 luck to make the best use of critical hits. Their tag skills will be energy weapons, science, and speech. Although an Enclave soldier doesn't have to be particularly charismatic, the speech will be useful in a particular Remnant's quest, and for the Terrifying Presence perk. The chosen traits are Hoarder, since we need all the carry weight we can get for the immense amount of energy weapons ammo, and Trigger Discipline to get the most use out of our weapons at longer ranges. The weapons for this build will be the sprtel-wood 9700 and the YCS-186. The sprtel-wood beautifully combines the Gatling laser with the Enclave's plasma weapon aesthetic from Fallout 3, and can shred almost anything into an ash pile at close range, especially once you get the Laser Commander perk at level 22. This weapon can be bought from Gloria Van Graff in the Silver Rush, or from the Gunrunner's Vendortron in case Gloria is dead. It costs a staggering 30,000 bottle caps, but with 10 luck, you should have no problem winning that amount in the casinos. For longer ranges or heavily armored enemies, the Remnant will switch to the YCS-186 Gauss rifle. The Enclave in Fallout 2 wielded Gauss rifles and Gauss pistols, so I thought it would be fitting to use. The YCS is obtainable by killing a band of mercenaries camping east from Brooks Tumbleweed Ranch on the northwest corner of the map. I found them a bit difficult to kill at a low level, but it was incredibly worth it for this weapon. I also kept a recharger rifle on me that I believe I got from the Bright Followers Corps south of Sloan, just to not have to waste my expensive and rare ammo on small critters. The Remnant's favorite companions are Arcade Gannon, who grew up in the Enclave, and Eddie, an iBot built by the East Coast division of the Enclave. Arcade will no longer be obtainable as a companion after completing for Auld Lang Syne, but it's imperative to complete the quest as early as possible to make full use of this build. After looting Goodsprings, get to New Vegas as fast as possible through Black Mountain to get the sprtel-wood. You can also recruit Arcade Gannon here just by completing the quest High Times and donating right away to Julie Farkas. If you don't have enough points in the science skill to decrease the amount of detox scams you need to grab in High Times, just walk into the Tops Casino and level up from the XP you get for finding Benny. With your science skill, you can also fix and recruit Eddie and Prim. I didn't have any sensor modules on me, but you can buy them from Chet in Goodsprings. Anyway, head to the mercenary camp to get the YCS-186, because you will definitely need the firepower for the next location. Going to the crashed Vertibird site with Arcade in your party, it will trigger dialogue with him that earns you 1 history point.
A Vertibird. Interesting. It's been a long time since I've seen one of these.
What does anyone know about them? Big flying machines, right? Crazy helicopters. So weird.
Now head to the Repcon HQ, which, by the way, is a great source of microfusion cells, to trigger yet another dialogue sequence equivalent to a history point.
I've read about Repcon. I think they did some work with the the government before the war. Rockets and some energy weapon prototypes, I think.
Repcon went through some rough times. When the rocket business was shaky, Mr. House purchased the company. It didn't take long for him to repurpose their plasma technology for a government weapon contract.
Stop thinking so much. Thanks.
These 2 history points will be enough to start the quest for Auld Lang Syne, provided you don't gain any affinity with the Legion. But to actually get the quest to start, you need to progress to a certain degree in the main quest. The easiest way to do this is to kill Benny, take the Platinum chip to Mr. House, kill Mr. House, and then replace him with Yes Man. If you want to side with Mr. House, the quest will start only after you've completed the House Always Wins 5. During the quest for Auld Lang Syne, Arcade will address you in dialogue after talking to each Remnant. You have to always choose the dialogue option that affirms his Enclave heritage, as this will be important later. I left Dr. Henry for last, as he requires you to complete the quest Guess Who I Saw Today, and Jacobstown is also the closest to the Remnant's bunker.
I need to talk to you about something, if you have a minute.
Any day now? Caesar's going to try to march across Hoover Dam and kick NCR out of the Mojave. We're getting caught up in something important out here. Hell, after how you handled Benny, you're practically right in the middle of all this. I know I'm just along for the ride, but it's made me think about the past and how I might be able to help out. I wasn't always with the followers, or with the NCR. My late father was an officer in a group called the Enclave, a remnant of America's pre-war government. Memories being short around here, not a whole lot of people remember them. But they did bad things. Terrorized communities, kidnapped people. Eventually someone stopped them. I was born a few years later at a military base on the coast, a place called Navarro. A lot of different places. I only know what I was told. Some of them were cut down by the NCR and the Brotherhood. Some of them went east. My mother never told me what happened to my father, but she and I went south with some others and integrated into the NCR. When the NCR learned that Enclave personnel had integrated, we kept moving to the fringes. It's one of the reasons why I wound up out here. After the Enclave's command structure fell apart, it was only a matter of time before Navarro was overrun by NCR forces. My mother and I left with some of the troopers from my father's old unit, the same people I've kept in contact with over the years. Anyone who didn't get out was killed by the NCR. Even some of the ones who escaped were eventually hunted down by the Brotherhood of Steel. The Enclave did a lot of bad things, but there were good people at Navarro. Good people with a lot of experience. Not many of them are alive anymore, but I think they can make a difference in the fight against Caesar. That's a hard question to answer. I know I don't want the Legion to take Hoover Dam. So militarily, yes, I want them to help NCR. If possible, I'd like to figure out a way to help the NCR win Hoover Dam without holding New Vegas. Great. I'd like you to talk to the old-timers, the Remnants. I don't think I could convince them by myself. To them, I'm still a kid. But you're a big part of what's happening out here. When you talk to them, they'll understand how important this all is. I've kept in contact with them over the years, so I know where you can find them. But I doubt they'll open up to you unless I come along. I know I'm not always the most serious guy around, but this means a lot to me. Thanks.
You don't strike me as someone down on their luck. What brings you to West Side? Hello, Arcade. Making some new friends, are you? Why the need for a bunch of old war horses like us? Swooping in on a vertibird, guns blazing? Haven't done that in years, but all right, I'm in. None of this means a thing if the rest of the group doesn't show up, though. Oh, and you'll need my part of the passphrase to get into the bunker. Navarro. I miss those days sometimes. We all had a purpose, you know? I admit that some of the folks in charge were pretty ruthless. The rest of us, though, we were just trying to civilize things. The NCR was still new, and it didn't look like they'd last all that long. Then we lost the oil rig, and shortly after that, the base at Navarro. Nobody left except us remnants. Internal sabotage took down the oil rig. Never did get the full story. The NCR took out Navarro, saying we posed a threat to the region. I was the officer in charge, and Johnson and Moreno were my heavy hitters. Henry handled tech things, and Whitman flew the chopper. Johnson and Moreno never got along, and I had my hands full keeping those two apart some days. It was a difference in philosophy, mostly. Mercy was not part of Moreno's vocabulary. Uh-huh.
Judah Kreger is the glue that's kept us all together over the years, and with good reason. Anyone who can command Moreno and Johnson in the same unit without somebody getting fragged is one hell of a leader. Kreger was polite and kind, but never warm. He always did his best to make me feel welcome in the group. I think he did it out of a sense of loyalty to my father. Loyalty means a lot to Judah. Not loyalty to the Enclave, or even the ideals they fought for, but to the people who served with him. Sometimes I wonder how much of my father they see in me. They went through a lot together, but my family went through it too. I'm glad they've watched out for me all these years. Maybe someday I can return the favor.
Looks like I forgot to lock the doors again. If you're with the NCR, get out. This place is mine, and I'm not leaving. Been a while, Arcade. So, what's the point of all this? Can't find any younger mercenaries? You can thank the NCR for that one. Wait, this isn't on behalf of the NCR, is it? Yeah, it does. There's not a chance you'll find me helping the NCR. Oh, I'll come. But depending on the plan, I might not be staying. Keep that in mind. Arcade might have mentioned there's a passphrase needed to get into the bunker. My part is remember. Heavy weapons trooper. Nothing better than hosing down a target with an excess of bullets and laser fire. By the time I got through with things, not much was left standing. Any morons who didn't run when they saw me coming got what they deserved. Back then, it was war. If we'd been on the winning side, I'd be called a hero.
Moreno took the fall of the Enclave hard. He never questioned his orders, never questioned the legitimacy of what the Enclave was doing. To him, it was all one unbroken chain, from Washington to Richardson. When we left Navarro, I remember looking up at Moreno. He said, "Kiss America goodbye, boys." When we left the Enclave behind, the love in him burned itself out. Now there's just a bitter old man left. I suppose you're right. When you're part of something for that long, maybe it's impossible to let go without losing part of yourself. Moreno may be a stubborn son of a bitch, but at least he's loyal.
Well, it's about damn time. What took you... Oh. I've been in the Reaper's shadow for a long time now, and I thought he'd finally showed up to collect. He's just mocking me now. Thought I recognized the fellow with you. So what's this reunion all about, then? Well, now there's an interesting idea. Do a bit of good before we're all dead and forgotten. You can count me in. Oh, and in case Arcade forgot to mention it, there's a 5-word passphrase needed to get into the bunker. My word is old. Appropriate, huh?
If I had to pick anyone who didn't belong in the Enclave, it would definitely be Johnson. He hated what the Enclave was doing. Day to day, week to week, he would question orders, subvert mission objectives, do anything he could to serve without serving. It's amazing he was never court-martialed. He always had good things to say about my father. Said I was like him in a lot of ways. I wish I knew. I wonder if he would. It's pointless, I know, but sometimes I wonder what he wanted me to be. Maybe being a doctor in the middle of Nevada wasn't exactly what he had in mind for his little boy.
Fine weather for flying. It's times like these that make me miss it all. Told you everything about us, did he? Well, it's been a while since I've had my hands on the controls of a vertibird. There's a chance I could crash us in the middle of Lake Mead. That place seems to attract aircraft for some reason. But if I get one more chance to fly, count me in. I'll be there. My part of the passphrase is dear. I was never happier than when I was in the cockpit. I was able to go just about anywhere and everywhere, limited only by the fuel I could carry. There were more than a few missions where I took the scenic route home just so I could stay in the air. Caught hell for it every time, but worth it. Some of the things we did were questionable, I know. That's just how it was back then. Figure I've done enough good to make up for any sins, anyhow. Watch your six out there.
Since my mother died, Daisy's been the only woman in my life. She was the only other woman close to my father, too. She flew him out on over a dozen missions, including his last. I've always been close to Daisy. There have been some good men along the way, but lovers make poor confidants. Daisy never had children of her own, so she was always there to listen. Being in the Enclave didn't mean much to her. She just loved to fly. It broke her heart to be grounded. As screwed up as it sounds, at least she was a part of something. Granted, it was something admittedly pretty bad, but it was something. If you spent the first half of your life flying Enclave troopers in a vertibird, I suppose picking over pre-war rocket parts doesn't quite compare.
Is there something else I can do for you? I'm intrigued, so I'll go to this reunion. I'll be handing things over to Calamity, so talk to her if anything comes up. Oh, you'll need my word from the passphrase to get into the bunker. Friends. Don't forget it. Yes, yes.
Doc Henry always was a hard one to figure out. It didn't seem to matter whether he was working with humans or dogs. He had an equal lack of affection for both. A regular Diogenes. I'm not sure what the man was after. Knowledge is power, but to what end for Henry, I have no idea. The problem was what mattered to him, not its practical impact. He simply solved riddles because they existed. I'm sure Henry has goals. He was just more concerned with the how than the why of things. Being in the Enclave didn't really mean much to him. I guess I'm lucky that I'm part of the followers. Helping people as a doctor is important, but with the followers, it feels different. It feels like we're working towards something more important. That's more than the sum of the good deeds that we do.
Before you enter the bunker, make sure you have 80 speech or 70 speech and at least one Meeting People magazine or Party Time mentats to convince Orion Moreno to support the NCR side. Tell Arcade to support the Remnants during the Battle of Hoover Dam and get Remnants power armor and power armor training. After you exit the bunker, Arcade will be waiting for you outside to address you and will no longer be available as a companion.
Glad to see you made it here all right. So, who are we going up against? Moreno, Johnson, Henry and I will be the boots on the ground. Whitman will stay with the vertibird. Then that's the plan. We're gonna have a problem with Moreno, though. He won't like that we're helping the NCR. You'll have to talk to him. I stopped being Moreno's officer a long time ago. Everyone here respects me, but they don't need to follow my orders. Not anymore. You've got only one chance at this. I know Moreno. Once he's made up his mind about something, there's no changing it. They say those robots on the strip are running around with...
I didn't come all the way out here just so we could save the fucking NCR. I'm out. I can't believe you've actually talked me into this. Fine, I'm in. But don't expect me to hold my fire if any NCR troops get in the way.
Thanks for doing this. Getting them all back together again. I'll be honest, when Moreno started going off, I didn't think we'd all be walking out of there in one piece. I still don't know how this is all gonna shake out in the end, but at least the Enclave can atone a bit for all the damage it's done. I've been wondering about Daisy and the others for so long, I still haven't figured out what I should do. I mean, I'm not like them. I was born at Navarro and my father served with them, but I wasn't really part of the Enclave. It seems presumptuous of me to think I could join the fight, even if this is a cause worth fighting for. Because I know when fighting breaks out at the dam, all hell is going to break loose in Freeside. They're going to need every doctor they can get. Good point. You've been encouraging the others to stand up and fight. Maybe I should take the same advice. After all, I also lived in Navarro. There's something I need to go do, but I'll catch up with you later. Thanks again for your help with the others. It means a lot to me.
Moreno's a stubborn son of a bitch, but he's also tougher than any of us. I'm glad you were able to talk him into staying. Since Whitman will be staying with the Vertibird, she's offered to give her old suit of power armor to you. You'll need special training to use it properly, so talk to her as soon as you get the chance. The training might take several hours, so keep that in mind.
Hey there!
I appreciate you keeping Orion in the group. Since I won't be needing my armor, makes the cockpit a bit cramped, you should take it. It'll take a few hours to show you how to use it properly, so let's get started.
Now for the endings. As I said before, I only really consider the Yes Man and Mr. House endings to be viable for this run, as siding with the Legion would immediately cause Arcade Gannon and Cannibal Johnson to leave the Remnants, with no way to convince them to stay. I also don't think you want to aid the NCR, the faction responsible for the sack of Navarro and persecution of Enclave personnel. I think ultimately the choices you make depend on how you imagine yourself being in the position of a living relic of America's past. Whether you just want to preserve the Hoover Dam as your country's legacy and keep it safe from the NCR and the Legion, or you actually want to provide a stable future for the Mojave, or even roleplay that your actions will lead to the rebuilding of the Enclave, it's up to you. But nah, definitely kill General Oliver. Semper Fi.
Arcade was proud to have been one of the defenders who helped repel the Legion from Hoover Dam. He was prouder still to see the area freed from the shackles of the NCR and Mr. House. Though independence for New Vegas was not all he hoped it could be, Arcade used his Enclave knowledge and technology to keep order wherever he could.
Thanks to the Courier and Lily, a cure for the Nightkin's schizophrenia was found shortly after Dr. Henry's experiment concluded. Nightkin and other super mutants in the wasteland flocked to Jacobstown, and the town became known as a haven where a mutant could find peace.
After their bold arrival at Hoover Dam, the Remnants disappeared as quickly as they came. Legends of their power spread throughout the Southwest, a reminder of why people once feared the sight of vertibirds in the sky.
And so the Courier's road came to an end, for now. In the new world of the Mojave Wasteland, fighting continued, blood was spilled, and many lived and died just as they had in the old world. Because war never changes.